Welcome back to Locker Room Dads. Really fired up for today's guest. He can hit a golf ball further than a normal human being, and he could probably crush you with one of his insane workouts. Scott, welcome to the show, man.
Man, thank you guys for having me.
Dude, what's going on, man? I try to keep up with you on Instagram. You got a lot of stuff going. I saw you just did a charity event in Tennessee. What to make golf accessible to kids out there, right? How did that go?
It went great, man. We started this Kids Play Free program a few years ago, and it kind of took on a life of its own. People were just given a bunch of reasons not to play, and we decided to try to create a program to, make it as accessible as possible. And we've got some unbelievable partners here in town, and happy to continue to have it grow. We had a couple charity dinners, my one random off week of the season, and made the most of it, and back on the course doing our thing, and just kind of life as a pro golfer.
That's awesome.
Nice.
No, that's really cool.
So did you have a lot of people show up to the event? Was it successful? Did you raise a lot of money?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of that kind of stuff is more awareness as far as, we sold out both nights and everything. Just kind of creating. We started a program, the very first year we did 28 rounds, and 3 years later we're at about 30,000. So, and I mean, truly, the whole
stuff, man.
Yeah.
The whole goal of the program is just to try to create an opportunity for an excuse for kids to get on a golf course, and what they do with it is kind of up to them. And there's a bunch of programs that we facilitate to try to whatever they want to do in the game, we have an access for them, and kind of whatever that looks like.
Before we get into you being a dad, I mean, I did a little bit of research on you, and I saw that you met your wife in elementary school. So I don't know if this is, I mean, everything you see on the internet is true, but maybe you can verify here with this.
Yes, I did. I've known my wife since we were 5 years old. Linden Elementary School, Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So, yes, we made it through the awkward stage. We had a slight middle school romance, a ill-fated high school romance, and now we've been married for 15 years in August and have 2 kids.
Wow,
that's amazing!
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So you're like a veteran dad right now. You're just in it. You have 2 kids, right? Wait, yeah. Finn and Millie.
Yeah, I have a 9-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter.
Oh, that's great. That's great, man. How were the pregnancies along the way? Were they straightforward? Did you guys have any crazy complications?
No. It was super interesting in the fact of everyone with their first time, kind of interesting. And I will caveat this: if any women sees it, I understand that I did not physically have the child. So when I say we, I say her. Jen did this, and I don't want to be like, well, he didn't do anything. So my wife had the baby. I'm abundantly aware of that. She carried it to the full term, so we kind of take care of all that. But we, everything was, I guess, relatively seamless. I mean, she had to have C-sections, which not uncommon these days. But everything is great. She's as tough as they come, and incredible mom, and cool to kind of see with our crazy lifestyle how she just kind of manages it. She's the team captain, and kind of organizational chaos is the best way to describe it.
I love that.
Yeah. So you've known your wife for quite some time. Did you know throughout your younger years that you were going to be a dad, or that you wanted to be a dad, or how did that come about?
I mean, I have a great relationship with my dad. He was super influential, just in life. I wouldn't necessarily say in my golf career, but I mean, I guess eventually he did have incredible influence on it. I mean, he always just encouraged me to, whatever I was doing, whether it was golf or baseball or kind of whatever I was doing, just kind of put my best foot forward, never allowed me the opportunity to quit, and kind of go when it got uncomfortable. But, so I knew, my wife and I always wanted to have kids. So just, bringing that whole element into the professional athlete's life of our travel schedule and kind of everything that goes along with that is just man, there's a lot happening. So, I mean,
Yeah.
checking
No,
into
no, it
airports and kind of dealing with all that stuff when traveling with just a circus is, you learn a lot about where you stand. And I've got an incredible partner alongside me to kind of help me through all that.
yeah, you need that for sure. I mean, I see it in the NFL world. I mean, the guys that don't have that strong support system, like they suffer big time. Like you have to have a strong woman to take care of that household because if you don't, it is going to be hell. It's going to be so hard, like to raise a family and be comfortable. And but man, I wanted to ask you, like golfers don't have a home stadium, like football players, basketball players, baseball, blah blah blah. Like they all have home stadiums. You guys are constantly going. Like, how do you manage just being on the road all the time?
Well, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't know what it would like to have a home stadium. I mean, it's rare to have a place to play one event where you live or where you play or practice, which on tour, like, man, there's probably 30, 40 guys a year that have access to something like that. But I would say to a certain extent, I mean, that's kind of what we know. I mean, you travel, you play, hotels, Airbnb, you know, everything in between. I mean,
Yeah.
this is my 15th year as a pro, and 12th year or yeah, I don't know, whatever. I've been doing it for a long time. My 12th year on tour, and so every travel scenario you can think of, I've done it. Like truly, planes, trains, automobiles. There was a single wide trailer involved in there at some point. Man, we've truly done it all. So, I mean, but it's kind of what we know, and I think if it was different than that, it would, we'd adjust and go on. But I mean, it's a unique sport that we play kind of all over, and that's kind of what makes it what it is.
Yeah.
And it would be bizarre to only play in one place.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. If you're used to it and you've been doing it since college that way, it's probably second nature for you to do that. But
yeah, that's your normal.
yeah, I'm sure you have such a great routine with like the workouts and the family time. Like, how do you balance everything? Is it something that you've just always done and you've always been routine conscious and in that sense, or have you grown and adapted like as you got older with the kids? And I'm sure things and phases of life change right along the way.
Yeah, it's definitely a phase of life. I mean, I was a guy that early in my career, I didn't really know how to get away from the game. I'd play 6 events in a row, come back, take like half a day off, and next thing you know, I'm back to the course. And you just figure out a way to hate your job real fast. And
Yeah.
so I just think that children and a family are I mean, a blessed distraction and just an opportunity to kind of get away. Because I mean, my kids could care less if I win a tournament or miss the cut by 100. Like it's still dad, and still kind of the opportunity to to kind of show them that there's a lot more than that score that I put in the box at the end of the day. And I truly I try to get my work done in an off week. Completely around their schedule. My wife's, wake up early, train, try to get it all done before they wake up, be there kind of through the morning routine, take them to school, kind of get my practice stuff or, anything like this kind of done during the day. I was telling Pat when we were trying to figure out a time, basically from about 9 to 2:30, 2:45 is my time to get things done. And outside of that, I'm kind of on their schedule. So, my kids call me George.
100%.
Yeah, my kids call me George the driver. So when I'm home, I'm going, and man, they are everywhere. We're baseball, track, soccer, and dance, and their social calendars are we limit them to 2 things at a time, and they have to commit and kind of stick out whatever season that is, and then they can transition. They just can't stop in the middle. We're trying to teach what teammates are like, and especially it's weird trying to, because I don't really have a team sport, but I do have a team around me that kind of helps me kind of through the day in day out stuff. So that's kind of it. And but on the road, it's solely based off my schedule and kind of what we're doing with tournaments and traveling and stuff. So when the kids weren't in school, they traveled as much as I did. you see some, little, kids in car seats with, gold platinum status on Delta. It's just very unique to see them roll through there.
Yeah.
As far as just like little travel veterans. And, it's a very unique lifestyle, but I'm very happy to have them have an opportunity to come with me on the road and, hopefully, kind of be proud of the work that I do on and off the golf course and, have them be a part of it as much as I possibly can.
How many tournaments do they go to a year? Is it you guys plan it out on a calendar? Or is it like month to month, or you just try to set up your schedule in a way where you're like, hey, I'm going to hit this tournament, and I'll be back? Or I'm sure there's some special tournaments that you want them there for, right?
Yeah. And when I say organizational chaos, like I truly mean that. Like my family was out 2 of the last 3, which is kind of unique to this time of year based on spring break and travel and this and that. And we have some birthdays in there. And then like my family's coming out middle of next week when we play in Hilton Head. And then,
Nice.
it's just kind of literally everything. And we have a calendar at our house that is 365 days laid out in one, and it's all like taped off. As far as my wife is very organized as far as our schedule. And I mean, we're selfish with our family time and understanding of when we can all be together. And
Yeah.
the kids like to see when there's a certain color tape that goes across, when that means we're all together. Um, and they definitely look forward to that time. And then they have time where it's one-on-one, where my wife and I have the chance to have one kid at a time, and kind of emphasize, especially with being a boy and a girl. I mean, they could not have more opposite personalities, and trying to prioritize things around their individual personalities. And but I mean, our band of 4 together is, I mean, we've done everything, and it's had some really, really cool experiences along the way.
Yeah, you just touched on that about having a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
And I want to ask this, if it's refreshing to have one of each, or if it's like way more complicated than everybody makes it seem, because I'm sure they have different interests, they have different personalities. I'm sure it's a good balance if I had to guess.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I could not have the 2 more opposite kids. My son's pretty level-headed. I mean, super intellectual. I mean, he's read more books in 9 years of life than and probably in the last year, than I've read in my entire lifetime. And just the total opposite of like a kid that loves school, loves learning, and kind of that. And then our daughter is very much the complete opposite of that, as far as if we told her that like she never had to go to school again the rest of her life, she'd be like, sweet. And, just the, outside of just their gender, but, just the personalities that kind of go along with it, we kind of felt like we had a pretty good head on our shoulders as far as how to manage these kids. And then little Millie showed up, and we're like, holy cow, we have no idea what we're doing. So, I mean, basically once or twice a week, our son will come to us and be like, what are we going to do with her? And we're all in this together trying to figure out, but we call her our team mascot. And, man, she's like the best part of all of our personalities put in one. And she kind of takes her own spin on life. And, she definitely keeps us on our toes.
Yeah, Pat and I are like kind of getting ready for that next phase of like expanding the families. And we both have daughters. And so we've talked about like, what's it going to look like if we both had, 2 girls or a boy and a girl or whatever. And I think for us, we've gotten used to having 2 girls just around each other because our daughter's always around. But I've always wondered adding in a boy and seeing the differences, because obviously as they get older, their stuff they like is
Interests
way different.
100%. Yeah.
And balancing that out, I've always thought would be so difficult, but it sounds like you've got it down pat.
I don't know if I have it down pat. There's days that I mean, within a matter of seconds, I could feel like the best parent that has ever parented, and then literally like DCS is calling. Like like, I mean, literally, that could be in just a matter of just one conversation. So, and it is, all parenting and life and marriage and everything has its challenges. And I think as long as you don't take yourself too serious in all matters of life and understand that you don't have it all figured out, and we operate in a house of grace and understanding that we're all in this together, and we're all going to make mistakes, and we're going to love each other through it. And there's going to be hard times and great times and kind of everywhere in between. And as that whole process begins, we're all in this together because this is all we got. And I said, if we can't figure it out amongst the four of us, then we're pretty screwed. So we try to resonate that with our kids, and we've got an unbelievable support system here in Knoxville where we live. But ultimately, like, we're a pretty tight knit group of the four of us. And as my daughter, if she saw this, she'd be like, well, we have five, because she considers our dog like the fifth part of our family. So we have a 18-month-old golden doodle. And I mean, yeah, that was.
Your house is rocking then, huh?
Yeah.
It is. But 6:30 in the morning, you better come correct. Like, it is rolling. So I got stuck in Atlanta on my connection back from San Antonio on Sunday, and I didn't get home until about 2 in the morning. And you better believe 6:30 in the morning, Blonde Fury was running down the stairs, jumping on our bed, ready to roll. And I was just like, and my wife's name's Jennifer. She tapped me on the shoulder. She's like, buckle up, Dad. It's going to be a bumpy ride. And it's just like, man, it was just a hell of a day. We had track meet. The weather was actually pretty good. I normally don't practice a day after a tournament, but it was like, man, this weather is sick. Like, I need to kind of get out there, get some work in. And then like 7 o'clock, the track meet, and I'm just totally dragging. And my daughter is just pure, like, ready to rage. Oh. And my son's doing track and like ready to roll. It's like, man, this is not for the faint of heart.
No, I believe that, because a lot of the guys expressed that to me, like, you better buckle up, especially when we go coast to coast games and we do a night game, like say in Seattle, and then we fly back. And in the morning, the routine doesn't stop. Like, the kids are going to wake up. You better best believe, like, you're not going to get as much sleep as you actually need. But now I know why coffee exists. I really do. Like,
yeah, my wife made coffee on Monday morning, and she's like, I feel like I should just pour this on you. Like, that would be, I'm going to make you one to drink and one to just dump on your head. And
an intravenous drip,
yes.
IV, just straight into the.
Yes. Yeah, most of the time I try to keep a pretty good, keen on like how much I'm taking in, just because I definitely have that, like, oh man, I've had like 5 cups, I'm good, and then next thing you know, you go practice and it's like, what's going on? But probably good in like football and like really like high intense sports. Golf, not so much.
Right, you got to be level.
Yeah, but yeah, caffeine exists. Whoever created coffee is probably a parent of multiple children, and so I'm very thankful for it.
No, me too.
I can attest to that too. You talked about a little bit of grace and patience a little while back. We haven't really talked about this, and I think it's really interesting for the listeners out there. What was it like for you to get your son potty trained? I mean, that's a huge hurdle, huge milestone that a lot of parents are probably like really frustrated with. How is it for your family to get potty trained?
We're definitely incentive-based parenting when it comes to that. And the opportunity that, man, boys are so much easier than girls because they can truly go and pee anywhere. And probably to a fault, we try to encourage that when he had to go, it was time to go. And we tried that. My daughter literally tried to use the bathroom in the middle of a fairway at a tournament, which in hindsight is hilarious, but in the moment, my wife was terrified. So, and still.
Wait. Yeah, I kind of want to hear this story.
So she just like ripped down the Pampers, and she just
yeah, we were in the process, and we were always like, hey, if you need to go, like it's like you need to let us know in time, and like we'll get you to a spot. But this one event, I think, has traumatized my daughter from porta potties forever. Because my son doesn't really, obviously boys don't sit down to pee or whatever and kind of go. So she always wanted to she saw her brother, and next thing you know, she's like, well, I want to go like that. And it just doesn't work like that. And we were doing a charity event, and we were doing this workout in New Jersey. And we had a bunch of people out and doing it. My daughter was, there with my wife. And the next thing you know, she was giving that like little kind of waddle where you could tell they're trying to find a place to land, and you can see like the squat going down, like every parent's worst nightmare. It's like, oh, it's about to happen. And it was right in the middle of this fairway. And next thing you know, you see my wife just full sprint and just drag my daughter off into this band of porta potties and trees and Lord knows whatever had taken place and gone on. And, that was a unique experience to say the least. But we have been back to that course, and we took her as like, and she doesn't, I mean, she was so small. But my son's like, that's where she did it.
A hazard in the fairway.
Right. Yeah. Your son's old enough, right, to recognize that and know that?
Yeah, for sure.
But touching on Finn, what was it like having a boy? Were you thrilled? Were you the type of dad you're like, you know what? Whatever comes out, and whatever's healthy is healthy, and I'm happy with that? Or were you like, I want a boy, I want him to follow my footsteps, I want him to be a golfer? Like, what was your take on
No,
having a boy first?
I could care less. I was all about health. My wife, especially with the C-section with the first, like that was a bit unnerving. And then you realize that, man, they do literally thousands of these a day. Like, this is not the first C-section that's ever happened in life. Just like, my son was not the first boy that was ever born on earth. We're definitely not the parents that kind of operate like that. But I was very much like the sex of the child was sort of irrelevant to me. My wife and the health of the child was the priority, and whether my kids play golf or play sports or whatever, like, that is, to be honest, a little bit irrelevant. I will encourage them to be as much a part of what I do as they want to be, and have them kind of follow their own path. So we try to introduce them to as many things as possible. I mean, granted, they'll always have access to golf, but I mean, just seeing a lot of kids that are a little bit older, kind of in a similar situation, kind of feel forced out of obligation because of what their mom or dad does for a living. And I mean, my parents were great with that, as far as with me and my sister, and kind of letting us kind of forge our own way, and they were super supportive along the way. I mean, that's kind of the way that my wife and I operate with our kids. And to be honest, the golf course is truly not safe with my daughter on it. Like, no one is safe. So it's probably better served that she works in some type of combative sport, where she could just let loose and go from there. Golf is she came up to me. We had this real sweet video that the tour reposted and stuff in San Diego. I had this brutal hole. I played awful. I felt like I made 100 on it. Like, it was like the hole that never ended. And she just happened to be there, and just like pure instinct came up and just gave me this big, huge hug. And it was incredible. Like, I mean, I'm having a bad day. I pull up this video. We had a friend of ours that just happened to be at the right place at the right time. Totally impromptu, and she just came and gave me a hug after just a brutal hole. And everyone was talking about how sweet and supportive and this and that, and literally, like, probably 2 holes later, she was like waving over, like, come over to the ropes after I hit, which is totally weird for her. I mean, to like bring attention to herself in the middle of a round, but like trying to get my attention. And she comes over and she's like, "Your job is so boring." So,
yikes.
Yeah, we definitely have our moments of like true sweetness and like brutal honesty. So, she's like a perfect candidate. And my son's super, somewhere in the middle. He came and watched me play in Tampa a few weeks ago, and he's kind of like a 9-holer. And then like, all right, I checked the box. Love you, Dad. I'm ready to go do something else. And he was in this like area, excuse me, of like kind of like coming off the 18th, where it's kind of sectioned off for kids, and where they can do autographs and different things like that. And my son, I see him kind of in the line, and I'm like, what in the world? Like, he never does this. And the 2 other guys in our group are younger, and they don't have kids. And my caddy's like, "What's Finn doing?" And it's like, I have no idea. So we start walking up through this, and we're getting ready to go to the other side of the course. And he's like got his fist out, like ready to give a pound. And I'm like, okay, I'm pounding. And I was like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "I'm out of here, going to the pool." and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And and the guys in my group are like, "How old are you?" And I mean, they're 24, 20, 23 and 24 years old. And they're like, I've told them I was 37, and I basically told them I'm like a second away from like a wheelchair and, being like some type of one of those motorized carts for just getting me around the course. And, but just a surreal, like full dad moment of like, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I mean, he came out, walked the course, and was out there a little bit with my wife and kind of saw what he needed to see. And he's like, all right, there's other things I want to be doing right now.
You know what you should do? You should go to one of his events when he's like a teenager, and he'd like call him over and be like, hey, Finn,
I'm
give him a
going
little
to the pool.
fist pump. I'm out, my boy.
I'm going to the pool.
See you, bro.
Yeah.
See you, bro.
I'll see you at home.
He's in full baseball mode right now. And I mean, I try to be as a part of it as much as possibly can with my schedule. So we were over there, and I mean, I think in the nature of playing a sport at the highest level, and maybe you guys can resonate with some side of that. Like, I am as competitive as a one person can possibly be in my job, but I would say in other aspects of my life, I am the complete opposite. It's like almost compartmentalize that part. And like this baseball game, like I'm cheering for everybody. Like I just want everyone to have a good time, like everyone to do well, like the other team, and like all the boys on our team were like they're winning. I was like, man, everyone's doing great, like this and that. And my son's just wearing me out. He's like, you're even cheering for them. I'm like, buddy, I'm just ready for everyone to come out here, and like there's enough time to like grind and be competitive in life. Y'all are 9. Come out here and have a good time, and kind of go from there. And I don't know, maybe just the nature of playing something at the highest level maybe makes or breaks it for you a little bit. But just seeing like there's so much emphasis put on just the competitive side at such an early age, and like, man, y'all should enjoy it to the fullest extent of what it is. And I mean, there's plenty of time when this is going to get competitive and like it's going to come down to the nitty gritty. But right now, it ain't it.
No, I completely agree on that, actually. So I coached Little League with one of my good friends, and we coached his son. Some of the parents get so into it, and I just didn't understand. We're coaching like 12-year-old kids. I'm like, dude, you struck out. Great. You're going to come up to bat again. Who cares? Like, we're out here trying to have a good time. Like, I mean, yeah, it's great if you win, but like, who freaking cares? You're 12 years old.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great message that Scott said, though, because I see it in the professional world, too, where some guys are like, no, my kid's going to be the next blah, blah, blah. Like, he's going to be the next Michael Jordan. Listen, just let them pick what they want. Yeah. Like, I'm not telling you how to parent, but let them have fun. Let them explore different sports and figure things out. But I think it's a great message for dads out there that are like trying to get their kids into sports, or they don't know what to do, and having a professional athlete at the top level, just saying, you know what, just let them have fun. They'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Don't push anything too hard on them.
Yeah. The misconception is like, oh, you got your son on the course. And I'm like, if he wants to, like, great. But like, if he wants to go do something else, like, I'm ready to do that. Like, they're like, my job does not dictate, their, whatever they choose to do,
future
like
or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, that's their decision. I will help facilitate and be a part of it as much as I possibly can, but there will be like accountability based off the decisions that they make and stuff like that, and nothing but encouragement. But when it comes to the decision making process, that is up to them, as far as what they become passionate about and kind of going from there. But it is hilarious. Like Little League parents, golf parents, everything. And it's like, well, what would you tell my kid? And I was like, well, I'll tell your kid to go out there and just have a time of their life and enjoy it. And they're like, well, they do this and they do that. It's like, well, that doesn't sound very enjoyable to me. And like, I'm literally one of the best in the world at this. So, I wouldn't do that. So I just think to try to gain some fresh perspective is like, and I understand as a parent, you want nothing more than the best for your child, and then to be successful as best as they possibly can to the highest extent of whatever they put their best foot forward. And I totally understand that as a parent, but I truly think that in a competitive environment, especially dealing with sports or school or anything like that, it just has to be just a fully stood thing as far as like, man, we don't have this all figured out, and we're going to go out there and try to figure it out all together, and kind of going from there. There's plenty of time to grow up and be an adult later on in life, but going back and being a kid, I think there's all times, you guys could probably resonate with this too. Like, remember when you first started playing your sport as a kid and you look back, as like, man, I remember I love this part, and kind of figuring out how to make that part of your everyday life with your job, and kind of fall in love with the game all over again.
Yeah, I think that's big, especially for me when I look back. It's like Friday Night Lights in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, I just wish I can go back for one game and just really enjoy it. Because sometimes you get all stressed out about the next level and the colleges that you're going to go to, or you're touring. Is there a scout in the stands? Like, it's like, if I could just go back and just enjoy that, like that's what I would tell my high school self. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I think that's good that you can actually mentor parents, if you will, because they obviously look up to you. Like, they're like, man, Scott's kid's having a great time out there. Like, and you got this guy, Bill, yelling at his kid on the fence. Like, just Bill, calm down. You need to calm down.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you go to the sidelines and you get the comment, like, you're not mad that they just lost? Like, no, I'm good. Like I want them to do well, but I'm more allowed just like the learning experience that kind of comes along with it. When I do a junior event, I do a parents meeting and I do a kids meeting, and they're not together. So like the kids get to ask me basically anything that they want, and the parents get to ask anything they want. And most of the time it's like, well, my dad told me I should do this. What do you think? And then, well, my kid told me they should do this. What do you think? And none of them are bad. Or, I mean, a lot of it in that area is kind of like what you're talking about, like college and coaching, and, what kind of puts a kid in the best, and it's all well-intentioned. But I think for the most part of trying to, like, I think you resonate with it a little bit better. Like, as a parent, you can kind of understand where they're coming from. And so some of the questions and comments, especially in those meetings, get like, I'm going to start writing them down because they're pretty great.
You probably read a book. Scott Stallings questions with kids and dads.
Yeah, for the parents.
But I want to transition real quick. I don't know if a lot of our listeners know that you're a bit of a workout phenom. Like, you're a gym rat. I mean, you're sponsored by Noble. You're probably the first guy on tour to do so, right? You just did a huge event with them on the Players Championship. Walk us through, what was that like? Like, I saw from afar on Instagram and things you did. It was something on the course, right? It looked like an obstacle course. You were doing like runs and jumping jacks and burpees. And I was like, this guy, Scott, gets it.
Yeah. I had to get a shout out to Mac Jones. We were giving him a hard time. He's a fellow Noble guy, Patriots quarterback. So we did some things with the USO there in Jacksonville with the Players Championship, and had just a kind of chance to advocate on the half of the tour and the military community. So we did like a boot camp style workout, and it was funny. Some of the military guys were like, man, we thought we were going to do something different. We're like, well, we were trying to do something that kind of based on what you're doing. It's like, oh, well, I mean, everyone was great. And, kind of to bring some brand awareness of Noble and the tour's relationship, they signed a thing that became the official training and footwear apparel brand of the tour, which is super cool. And I'm proud to be affiliated with, kind of how that whole relationship came to be. But it was a unique thing to kind of bring a football, a golfer, military, and, kind of put it on the world stage in front of a lot of different people at a PGA Tour event. So it was super unique.
That's cool. Do a lot of people come up to you and be like, what does Noble mean? Is that like your slogan? Like,
it is amazing. I mean, obviously the brand has become more and more and more popular, but especially anyone that sees me like physically, they see Noble and they immediately go to like, is this like a vegan thing, or like you don't eat meat, or like what, or you just like have no bull in your life or whatever. And then, it's a training brand, and, based in New England and this and that. So it is hilarious. Some of the comments you hear are just like walking through like a gallery, and it's like, oh man, this guy means business. He is just Noble. And then next thing you know, people affiliate with the brand. And so it's, we got to do a better job as far as getting the brand out there and kind of putting it, in front of people where they kind of understand what it's about. But it's a cool story to tell. And I couldn't be more proud to be affiliated with them, and kind of their relationship just in golf and all sports in general.
No, it's an amazing brand. I love their stuff. I don't know if you have any apparel yet, but you need to get on there.
Yeah, I know. I'm about to get on that one. I've seen all the stuff Pat's got, and it's pretty sweet.
But dude, I really want to ask you this. Like, as a professional golfer, you have to have a favorite tournament that you play in, a favorite golf course. Is there one that sticks out that you're like, yes, this is like my favorite course of all time, or one that I would play 10 times over?
Probably Memorial is the one that sticks out. That was the first time I ever met Jack Nicklaus. Obviously, it's Masters week, so Augusta National sticks out. I've been fortunate to play 2 Masters, and that's probably the one that sticks in everyone's mind. But from a player's perspective, to see one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, just be super hands on there in Dublin at Muirfield is the first time I met Jack Nicklaus, he was completely covered in dirt, and because he was helping redo a bunker on the 17th green, and I was like, man, literally, this guy's on Mount Rushmore of golf, and he is as filthy as he possibly could be because he didn't like the way the bunker did, so he took a shovel to it and fixed it himself.
Wow,
and I'm like,
that's awesome.
All right, this is my guy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So
that's a cool story, man.
And just kind of had a chance to see that. So that one's always kind of sticks out. And every time I see Mr. Nicklaus at the event, I ask him, "Was like, you been digging any more bunkers?" And he just starts laughing. He just was happy. I guess he had asked him to do a couple different things, and they did it the way that he didn't like it. And he said, "Well, I'm just going to get in there and do it myself."
Sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah.
You get your hands dirty, do it yourself.
Whatever it takes.
But it being Masters Week, I do want to ask because I train at Joey D's here in Jupiter, Florida. So you got like JT, Dustin Johnson, like all those guys. And they talk about the course, and you've played it, so you would know. There are some blind shots, right? Like you literally can't see the green, and like the hills are just so high. I've never been, but I'm just asking a professional, I guess, here. Like, what is it like for like a bystander at the course? I hear you can't even find a piece of trash. Everything is beautiful. It's green. It's lush. Like, is that true? No cell phones, right? Very old school.
Yeah, it's just it's definitely like the highest level of golf personified in terms of, professional presentation, golf courtesy, kind of everything that goes along with golf at the highest level. And it's just beautiful. Like, I mean, you see more people there just to look around at the scenery, and obviously people were there for the event, but just you can kind of get taken in just everything that goes along with it, which is pretty incredible. But the thing that sticks out to everyone is the undulation of like go from the highest to the lowest. I don't know the total feet change, but I mean, you start walking down the hill on 10, and you realize, and then you start look back up the tee, you're like, man, we have moved around this place.
Yeah, you probably have like that Fitbit on too, and it tells you all the data and stuff. You're like that guy. You're like that tech workout nut. I know you are. I don't
know. It'd be interesting. I did a thing last week where we're trying to figure out how many steps that we take in a week. And someone asked me that, and I was like, I have no idea. So I had my Garmin kind of kept it with me all week, and next thing you know, we probably walk somewhere between 80 and 100 miles a week. I mean, yeah, we're pretty much like endurance athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive, though. I mean, that is a lot to walk in 1 week.
Gosh, you would kill your opponent on the Apple Fitness. Like, my wife does that with all like her friends and stuff, and I'm like, she's like, oh my god, I got to like 10 more calories to beat my friend, and that would be hilarious.
Doing laps in the room.
Yeah. A bunch of the guys that I'm in like some Whoop groups or Garmin or whatever, they say that tournament weeks don't count. I'm like, well, I mean, then I'm discounted from like life.
Right.
So, because they're like, look at your strain, and they look at your sleep, and they look at all these different things where you can kind of combine like all the health data into one. And they're like, oh, Scott's playing in a tournament. Like, he doesn't count. And so, like, they just go the calendar weeks of the ones that I'm home, and then the ones that I'm on the road, and the ones that I'm on the road don't count.
That's cool. That's really cool. Dude, I have to ask another golf question. Like, have you? You've obviously had a hole in one, right?
I have a few of
Like,
them.
that's awesome. That's awesome. What is like the percentage of that happening? So like you've played X amount of years of golf and you've had how many holes in one?
9.
That's awesome.
So I've played 12 years on tour, and I've had 4 on tour. So
That's awesome.
Okay.
It's not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty rare to come by, though. So, I mean, having 1 is cool. So,
Heck
4
yeah.
on tour is pretty awesome.
I'm still waiting on that. Still waiting on that
Let's get
random,
working.
like, every time someone says, oh, yeah, I've had a hole in one, I'm like, oh, how was the tee shot, though? They're like, oh, it was awful. Like, it hit a tree, bounced, like, on the bunker and rolled it. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
My first one I ever had, I bladed it, and it hit, like, up in the flag, and it went down in the hole. Like, the shot was awful.
Oh,
and it just,
geez.
like, total blackout, like, luck. And so.
Dude, doesn't matter how you get them.
For sure.
Take what you can get, baby.
All right. Last golf question. How do you pick your caddy?
Pat wanted to ask this one badly.
Because I'm like, is it like your buddy? Like I see like
there's
Dustin Johnson like has his brother carrying the bag, and I'm like, okay, that's a rarity.
Yeah, there's everything in between. There's more family out there than you think. In some form or fashion. There's uncles, there's brothers, there's cousins, there's all sorts of different things. I've had my caddy for almost 7 years. He's from Dallas, and caddied on tour for, I think this is 25 or 26 years for him. So
nice.
he's a good, but I mean, at this point, I mean, he's become part of our family. And, I mean, I spend more time with him than I spend with anyone. So there's a personality aspect. There's a respect aspect as far as what you do on and off the golf course. And there's a lot that kind of goes into it, and truly, like, how much you can tolerate being around another person. I can definitely be the first person to say that I'm not the easiest person to spend a bunch of time with, especially in a competitive environment. So, trying someone that can kind of manage that. I think him and my wife have come to Jesus meetings as far as like, how are we going to deal with him? So
this week,
they kind of go back and forth as far as, well, I think we should do this, and then I think we should do this. So between the two of them, they got to figure it out.
Yeah. It's like spending a lot of time with someone like a long snapper or a kicker. I mean, like that's what my equivalent is like you're around them 24/7. Like all the other boys are doing the drills and the hitting, and we're like sitting there doing our own thing. So I can imagine like how close you are with your caddy. That's why I was like super interested. I'm sure a lot of the people are like, I don't know, they probably just like pick them through like I don't know, like a search engine.
Find a caddy.
Like, find a caddy. I don't know.
Yeah. No, there's a little bit more that goes to that.
Definitely. Seems like it. But to finish off here, we wanted to ask, do you have a favorite vacation that you took the kids, the family? Like one that sticks out, one that you're like, I would definitely do again, or maybe one that you're like, you know what, I probably won't do that again.
Yeah, recommend or don't.
I've heard both things with Disney. Like Josh is a huge Disney family, and I'm like, I don't want to go to Disney unless I have to.
Yeah, we have had that conversation. We just did Disney with my daughter's birthday. We played Bay Hill in Orlando and did that. And it's just kind of like, I mean, you want to talk about buckling up. I mean, thankfully they have a couple of those like Epcot and Hollywood Studios that kind of maybe somewhat appeal to the adult side based on the beverage situation, can kind of appeal through to get you through the day. But I mean,
drink around the world.
Oh yeah,
Epcot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Epcot's great.
Yeah. Every parent that has been like that has done the week at Disney, and you're like, you've been to Epcot, and then everyone kind of like gives the wink. Who's like, oh yeah,
but, you better get to Epcot.
Yeah. But I mean, I could take Disney or leave it. I love seeing the first timer as far as just that whole experience of seeing the princess or seeing the superhero or kind of whatever that is. So I mean, it kind of brings out the little kid in you. I mean, as much as we travel home as our vacation, and I mean, we took some unbelievable like little 1 and 2 day trips during COVID. I mean, we had built a house here in Knoxville in 2019, and during quarantine and kind of everything, I lived in this house more in that time than I had lived in any home of ours in the last 5 years combined. So
Shoot.
Yeah, I
while
believe
that,
it.
I mean, while that changed life for everyone as we know it, and kind of will ever be identified as that time of our lives that, you know, life as we knew changed forever. But in some form or fashion, it was just an unbelievable time for our family where, you know, we were kind of self-sufficient. We were all together and, you know, kind of figured out like what the next step of our lives were going to look like. And, you know, maybe not the answer you're exactly looking for, but for someone that travels 250 days a year, like my house is, I'm dialed in. Like
No,
that's where I want to be, and I basically want to be. If I'm not at home, I'm going to be in an off week. I'm going to try to be wherever my kids are at or where my wife is
Yeah.
at, and you know wherever they are is good enough for me. And
no, I
you
get
know,
that.
kind of manage it from there.
You know, that's good advice, regardless of whether you're a pro athlete or someone who just works a lot or travels for work. I mean, being able to come home and get the family time is the most important part.
For
At
sure.
the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I was
You
given.
got to get.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was giving a hard time about my Monday coming back, but I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I was figuring out a way to get home from the airport at 2 a.m, whether it was walking, because that little girl was coming in at 6:30 looking for me, you know, and I mean, that was going to be a hard thing to explain to a 6-year-old that dad said he wasn't going to be there, or dad said he was going to be there and he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was going to run home if I needed to, because literally as a parent of someone that doesn't get to experience that very much, that 6:30, good morning, mom, good morning, dad, and come and just jump in bed and all just ready to snuggle. And I mean, that's the stuff that'll get you through a tough day. And I mean, she did it this morning. Got up, got my workout in, showered just enough to like sneak in, just sneak back in bed like right before she comes in, so she could come in. And that's exactly what she's looking to do. And I mean, that'll just melt you inside. Like I don't care how tough you are, and you know, kind of see you from there. So I mean, definitely one of my favorite things to experience is as a parent, and you know, makes you try to, you know, spend as much time as you possibly can at home, just because of how sweet that time is.
Yeah.
Girl dads, man.
Oh yeah.
Special breed.
Yes,
Telling you.
sir. Love it.
That break you down, man.
Oh, they will. But this is a question we like to end on here. Josh probably wears out Disney Plus a little bit too much in his household. Like it's on repeat. He's like, you're a big Moana. You're a big Encanto family. What do you guys crush in the house? Are you like a Disney Plus family or Netflix? You're probably way over the Coco Melon thing. I mean, that was insane.
Yeah, we didn't. Thankfully, we avoided that. But man, we were on the first part. My kids are maybe a little bit older than y'all's, so we did. Thankfully, my daughter didn't, because it had already been canceled. But man, Caillou is the worst show I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, literally, I don't know who created it, but that was an evil human. But I could see Caillou as being a reason why adults didn't choose to have kids, because of that one show. But man, it is a cool time. Like my son is, you know, he's Harry Potter, Star Wars, like superheroes, stuff like that. My daughter's like literally every princess, like every little girl on earth. So a happy medium. And now like her starting to understand that they're girl superheroes, and like Princess Leia's in Star Wars, and she gets a lightsaber. So she's kind of down on that. But I mean, still, like you throw Encanto on or anything Frozen, or I mean, she's down. But also, like you sit there and you know see Black Widow or some type of anything that girl, and she's just like roughing somebody up. She's loving that too. So, you know, a little bit maybe more. I like the little kid stuff and probably the bigger kid stuff, and you know, so you know, anything along those lines, we're ready to roll at any time.
Nice. Well, dude, this has been an awesome podcast. I mean, what I've taken from it is if you have an older son and a younger daughter, your daughter's probably going to be one tough female chick out there. She's going to be taking no BS from anybody.
Yeah, I mean, whoever deals with her for the rest of her life better buckle up, because they are better be, you know, you got to be dumb or tough. Well, and you might as well be both if you're going to deal with her. So we're man, every single day she makes us better than we were the day before. So And I think any parent can kind of look at that as far as, just the way that they raise their children and kind of go from there. I mean, you kind of grin and bear it some days, and some days it's like, man, what we get ourselves into, and the other days like, man, I couldn't imagine life any other way. But definitely one of the biggest blessings you can have in life is being a parent, and we're definitely very fortunate to have two great kids and an unbelievable partner to kind of help through this crazy life of ours.
Absolutely, man. The dadhood. We're a gang out there. It all unites us, baby. But Scott, dude, we appreciate your time. Thank you for jumping on the pod, and good luck the rest of golf season, man. More holes than ones coming your way.
Thank you. Yeah, the season that never ends. We play forever.
Well, I appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Locker Room Dads is brought to you by Stormhouse Brewing. South Florida's best pint and bite is located in sunny North Palm Beach. Whether you're looking for a great craft beer, delicious food, or watching your favorite team, they're always brewing the perfect storm. And Coach First. Coach First is a fully integrated app that is designed for athletes and coaches alike. Whether you want to book your next training session or take your coaching to the next level, Coach First is the app for you. Find them on the App Store and sign up today.